Whoa, 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 whoa.
Wait, what's the problem?
What's the matter? This is not a Jet show.
So what?
So how about this?
Bennett lobs it. Bortles alone. Touchdown, New York.
Oh, come on. I don't want to hear this.
Why not? Super Bowl champions.
Doesn't matter. I just don't want to hear it.
What do you want to hear?
How about some Mets?
Hey, if I can find one good thing that happened to the Mets, here we go.
Home run! Mike Piazza, and the Mets lead 3-2.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be, I'm sorry. We all can't be like the Yankees.
Oh, speaking of.
This one by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the roof. Goodbye, home run. Don Mattingly.
No. God, I can't believe I just said that. All right, well, listen. How about a little Nets?
If I have to.
Hit the jumper to win it. He got it.
I can't take it. I can't take it anymore. It's been a second. I can't take it. How about some Knicks?
Oh, yeah. Big spenders. Can't win a playoff.
Fair enough.
Houston pops out up top, down the lane, running jumper off the front rim, and in.
I guess we should talk a little hockey, Mel.
People even watch hockey anymore?
They watch the Rangers.
Well, if you have the Rangers, you got to have some violence.
Yeah, no, they didn't have a YouTube in the 80s.
All right, let's get the show started.
Here we are, Polar Opposites. Hello and welcome to the Polar Opposites podcast on polaropposites.podbean.com. Also on iTunes. And you can follow us on the Twitter. I'm Matt Stevens. Alongside me, as always,
is Craig Moffitt.
And Craig.
Maddie, how you feeling today, buddy?
Lot of stuff happening today. A lot of stuff happening this week. We're in our favorite time of year, the legal tampering period, which is truly the favorite time of most fans who understand what the word irony is, I should say. So we got a lot of football to do. We're going to try to get to our NL Central preview. If you don't, we will do that on the next show. Don't worry, everybody. We'll get to your team. Just relax. This isn't like ESPN where during the draft and you're a Jet or Giant fan, they spend 3 hours on the freaking Chicago Bears, and then the Jets pick, and they're like, oh, that's a good pick. And then they go on to the next team, and they do the same thing with the Giants. We will cover all the teams.
Now, we said last week you made a deal with me that we would no longer talk about the Knicks.
None.
Okay. So I'm going to take that one thing we are never going to do, or at least I'm never going to do. I am never, ever going to do a political post ever again on social media.
Oh, you did? You went and you hopped in.
Shitballs.
You jumped in with both feet?
Now, listen, I didn't even say anything. I don't think I said anything negative. Okay.
You're from Long Island, though, right?
Yeah.
You're original, like you grew up there.
Originally born and raised.
Listen, folks, if you don't know anything about New York City, if you're listening to this outside of the city, the inside of the city is very blue. Outside of the city is very not. So it's very possible that a lot of Craig's friends don't necessarily feel the same way that Craig may or may not feel.
So
which I don't know, by the way.
So basically what I did was, because it came the Saturday that Trump tweeted
that Obama had wiretapped him?
Yeah. So all I said was, okay, all I fucking said was, I posted the article from the Daily News.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And I just said these baseless accusation tweets from our Twitter-in-chief are getting tiresome. That's all I said. I didn't say Trump is an idiot. I didn't say Trump is a douche. I didn't say anything, so like
all true, by the way.
Right? So a couple of people like who are not Trump supporters are like, oh my God, I can't take it anymore. And then I had the Trump supporters.
And then they come out.
You want to talk about a group of freaking sensitive people?
Well, it's not even that they're sensitive. They have a ton of free time.
I mean, like, I'm blown away by like how sensitive they are. Now, listen, I'm sure anti-Trump supporters are just as sensitive, and I get that too.
Well, they call us snowflakes.
But the funny thing is, like, I cannot get over how freaking sensitive.
Right?
Holy shit.
Yeah.
And all I said was, it's just getting tiresome. That's it. Didn't say, like I said, nothing negative about Trump whatsoever. It just gets, after a while,
I'm sure you've said the same thing about your children.
Probably. It just gets tiresome.
Yeah.
But
nobody would kill you for that because it's your own kids, right? So, like, nobody cares?
Oh, my God. It was just like, first of all, one person thought that I was making fun of him because he spelled the tap wrong. And that's not really what I was trying to get at, even though that was kind of funny.
Guys, our president can't spell. He can't spell. We've already had one that couldn't speak.
Then it was like, I had like another friend of mine who basically was like, all the liberals who live in their parents' basement, blah, 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 blah. Oh, we got to get through 8 years of fixing Obama's crap and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, whatever. I'll let you.
But don't you see, like, my problem, and we're going to get to sports. Everybody just take a deep breath and have a second. We're talking about other stuff because sometimes it's not only about sports. There's also life. And sometimes people are stupid, and we have to point out the stupidity in the world. That's part of our job here is to point out the stupidity. We do it with sports athletes all the time.
I've just, and it's funny because, like, I must have reread that post before I posted it.
Right.
5 times.
Right. It's like benign. You're like, nothing, benign. I might get a few likes. I might get a few angry faces.
Yeah. But it was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And like people like so
I might not even have
angry.
noticed that post.
People are like so angry. And I'm like, I go, listen, at the end of the day, what I'll say is Trump won the election fair and square. I'm just going to say that because I'm not wrong.
Under the rules set up by the Constitution, he won the election.
Okay. So the thing is like, I've accepted him, even though I don't really like him as president, but I've accepted him. At this point, there's nothing I can do. I'm not going to start a...
You mean you're not going to act like all your friends acted 8 years ago when Obama got elected?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what they thought of Obama when Obama got elected.
You already know they did because of the way they put in the things.
But the thing is it's like, I told my friend, I said, listen, I've accepted him as my president, and I hope he fixed what needs fixing. I was like, but this is a little too much.
Just stop.
It's too much.
Somebody take the damn phone out of his hands, guys. Anyway.
But it's saying, like, it's just like coming off a strong speech like it's State of the Union and then to come back to this, it's like you're right back to where you started. So you took a step forward, but now you're taking 2 steps back.
Not technically. He wasn't the State of the Union. Presidents in their first term don't give one.
Oh, whatever. Okay, so
it was just he addressed to Congress, so I could see where you would have. I called it that, but technically,
politics is not my strong point.
No, but technically not a State of the Union. It seemed like it. Technically not.
But it's like, but I said to my wife afterwards, I said, never again.
No,
I go, people take it so personally.
Well,
it's disturbing.
I do a political podcast called the Batshit Crazy Pants Super Show.
Right.
And
couldn't think of anything else.
Well, but what's going on right now? Isn't everything batshit crazy pants?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, if you're going to talk about everything, you might as well call it what it is. But people yell at me all the time. All the time.
It is unbelievable.
And they don't care.
It is unbelievable, like, how sensitive people really are.
And
I'm
sad.
blown away. I am blown away.
Now on to sports. We got a lot to get to. Of course, we're going to start with what I want to know is. That's going to be our local time. Then we're going to get into the NFL stuff. There's a lot of stuff to get to. We're going to cover the Giants in this segment, and then we're going to get to all the NFL stuff, the Tony Romo stuff. We're going to get into all the moves that have been made. The Patriots, again, continue to just outsmart everybody and make me angry.
Well, the thing is, now they don't need Bennett because they have Dwayne Allen.
Right, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
You see, there's a rumor where Bennett's going.
Giants.
I
don't want it.
Why?
He's old.
He's the black unicorn.
He is the black unicorn. There's it's a 50-50 split in my head, in my heart right now. My heart wants him back because I want the black unicorn back on my team, but I don't want him back because he's a little old. And then if you
what
had
is he,
him,
like 33 or 34?
Yeah, but I mean, it's an old 33, right? When you're a tight end in the NFL, like now, unless he's Jason Witten, right? Unless he's like that, where the guy just never seems to get old and slow.
That's fair. All right, here we go. So here are the 4 local topics of the week in our usual What I Want to Know Is segment. Okay. And the first 2 are about the Mets.
Yes, of course.
So,
no Yankee talk, apparently. Nothing happened at Yankee camp this week.
I didn't think putting Rob Refsnyder on the trade block was really worth
huge news. You have no idea the impact. By the way, let me just say this before we get started. I was listening to the Michael Kay show yesterday because I'm a sports...
Oh, you're the one.
Yeah, I'm a sports talk junkie. Like, I love to listen to it just to hear what the people are saying.
Well, not for nothing, checking the article lately, apparently ESPN is laying off like a ton of their on-air talent, I think radio and
well, yeah, because
TV.
They can't keep up. But the Yankee game, the preseason game was on yesterday, and the game went into extra innings, and they called it like it was Game 7 of the World Series. It was pretty funny. Anyway, like he hit the game-winning home, and Michael Kay's like, he gets the hit, and he scores, and they were joking. It was funny, and like Don's in there was a Mets fan, and he's clapping and cheering. It was funny. It was very funny. Anyway.
Okay, so here's the first one for the What I Want to Know Is. As always, like I said, the 4 local topics. The first 2 about the Mets. Sorry,
local.
Yankees didn't make it.
Local topics.
So here we go.
We should say Queens topics.
Stop. We also have Jersey for the Giants and Jets.
Yeah, it doesn't count.
Number 1, Noah Syndergaard, Steven Matz, and Jacob deGrom all had strong first starts of spring training, but the same couldn't be said for Matt Harvey. Harvey, pitching for the first time since undergoing surgery for thoracic outlet syndrome, pitched an inning and 2/3 and gave up 4 runs, but struck out 3 in Sunday's exhibition loss to the Cardinals. Terry Collins said Harvey is still dealing with some stiffness in his neck, but was not generally concerned about his first outing. Zach Wheeler will make his spring debut on Friday. Maddie, what I want to know is, what is your level of concern with Matt Harvey after his first start since undergoing surgery for thoracic outlet syndrome?
I mean, I think it's the same before the start. I don't think the start really has anything to do with it, right? Because first starts for guys who are veterans, and I know Matt Harvey's only really pitched like a full season in Major League Baseball, so I guess he would still be considered on that lower tier. But I don't think we can answer that question even after one start, because coming off the surgery, where if you listen to the guy for the pitches for the Cardinals, Wainwright, after he had the surgery, he said he didn't feel right for like a year and a half, right? Now, obviously, everybody's different. Adrian Peterson came back from tearing an ACL in a week and ran for 2,000 yards. You know what I mean? Like, it's all relative. But I think the outlook is the same. I think you're worried because this is a guy now who, in basically 2 seasons, had the 2 seasons where he pitched, he had Tommy John surgery, and then he came back from Tommy John surgery, and the year after that, he had thoracic outlet syndrome. Now, I know the two aren't related. The two have nothing to do with each other. But that's the 2 times he pitched 2 full seasons, he ended up not finishing the next season.
Right.
And that's not good. Now, that can change, obviously. Guys get hurt all the time, and then they stop getting hurt. Some guys keep getting hurt. Some guys stop getting hurt. But I don't think that the bad outing here is what you should be worried about. He's a pitcher who's pitched in the major leagues enough to where he's just working on getting his stuff back after not pitching for what? When did he have that surgery? May or June, was it?
Yeah, it was like halfway.
It was before the All-Star. Yeah, okay.
It was definitely before the All-Star.
So you figure almost a year, 10 months, right? So he hasn't pitched in 10 months. It's a guy who's getting his sea legs under him. Give him a break. If he continues to have a bad spring, well, then you start to worry, but I don't think you worry now.
Well, listen, I agree. I mean, I don't really get, you know me, I don't get all batshit crazy for spring training.
Right.
I just don't.
Why would you?
Okay.
Unless it's a rookie, like a young kid.
Now, for what it's worth, I don't know how much Harvey's thrown before that first outing. Is it just been like a bullpen session here and there? Obviously, he hasn't really thrown that much. Okay. So for that sense, one game, I'm okay with it. Like, listen, he got through the first inning, no problem. It really just kind of ran into a wall in the second inning. But then on top of that, the only thing I was a little concerned about was he got hit pretty hard in the second inning. That's why he couldn't really make it out. He gave up the 3-run homer. But outside of that, I mean, listen,
that's tired. That seems like tired, right?
But he's still recovering.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still recovering from this surgery, and like
Which
I said,
is not minor surgery,
no,
guys.
It's not
like
and the thing is,
having
I'm not even
tonsils
sure
removed.
like what kind of rehab is involved in these types of things. Because it's not like it's
not Tommy John
surgery. It's not a
surgery.
physical type of. It's like more dealing with veins and like I think.
Right, but it also isn't something that happens a lot. We don't have a lot of when you have Tommy John surgery, we know what it is, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're one of those guys that ends up getting it twice. We know what it is. It's about a year and a half. You come back, you're usually good. It takes you a little while to get your legs back, and then you're good, right? We know what it is. We don't know what this is. Guys don't usually have this. We just don't know. So I don't think you can worry too much yet. But listen, Met fans, that's what they do, right?
See, but the thing is, for me,
not you.
Well, no, some Met fans.
All fans. They're all fans of every team that wait for the other shoe to drop.
Here's the way I look at it. Is like, if Harvey was my ace and I had no one else, then yeah, maybe I'd be a little concerned.
But he's your third, maybe he's worth starting.
Exactly my point. And with Syndergaard kind of emerging and DeGrom emerging and Matt's having a strong first outing, I'm okay with Harvey taking his time to just kind of get back. Now give him a few more starts in spring training. I don't know when he's going to pitch again. I'm assuming it's every 5 days. But it could be wrong.
Yeah,
but,
I would imagine. But maybe a couple days because he had the first outing, so maybe give him an extra day.
But then even on top of that, Gesellman, who is most likely going to win the number 5 spot from Wheeler, because I think Wheeler's going to probably start out of the bullpen. He actually may not even break camp with the roster. He might actually start in like extended spring training.
Because he's 2 years out, right?
Yeah, he's been gone for a while.
So,
and even when he came back last year, he had a setback and he couldn't really pitch.
We'll see how it goes. I don't really think that we have too much to worry about right now, and I don't think you take anything away from this. Number 2, the Mets recently renewed Noah Syndergaard's contract for the upcoming season, and Thor will make $605,000. Syndergaard was seeking a deal similar to what Matt Harvey got in his second year of service, which would have been only an increase of $9,000. Syndergaard wasn't necessarily thrilled with the new contract and opted not to sign it. GM Sandy Alderson didn't want to make an exception for Syndergaard, saying, quote, "We have a system that tries to be as objective and fair as possible to all the players. This system seems to be working well. We can't have a system that applies to everybody but two." Referring also to Jacob deGrom, who didn't sign his contract last year either, while all other players did. Craig, what I want to know is it fair for Sandy Alderson to put Syndergaard and deGrom in the same class as all other players based on their service time in the majors?
Oh, sorry. That's all right. You know what's crazy? Your Alderson impersonation sounds very similar to your Mohamed Sanu impersonation last week.
Just guys who just say stupid stuff.
Does everybody sound like whiny white people? Or?
Well, no. Just when you whine and you say stupid things, I'm going to do a stupid voice to talk about your stupidity because this is,
Okay,
you know where I'm coming down on this.
Here's my opinion. No, he shouldn't, because quite frankly, Syndergaard and deGrom and Harvey and Matz, maybe not Matz less than the other three, are huge parts of your team, and they're bigger than all the other guys that signed those contracts. So you're basically telling me that you kind of put Syndergaard in the same exact sentence as TJ Rivera or whoever else has accrued service time. It's a whole service time thing, and I get it. I'm sure a lot of teams do it. I know the Angels did it differently with Trout, which is what the Mets should do. The Mets should kind of show a little love. Syndergaard was lights out last year, especially when we losing pitchers left and right. So the fact is, I think it's a very irresponsible for Sandy Alderson to put Syndergaard in that class. He's clearly higher because he's such a vital part. He's your opening day starter, for crying out loud.
I'm going to say this,
but this is before I get
sorry.
Basically, my point is, you keep doing shit like this, it's going to come back to bite you in the ass. And they're not going to be happy about it. And they're going to be frustrated. And you know what they may do? They may just be like, yeah, I'll sign. I'll let you know. Kind of things. And the thing was, what the timing of it was just as bad, because that was right after Syndergaard was after his start. A reporter asked him if he had any regrets for not pitching for Team USA in the World Baseball Classic.
He said, "I'm a Met."
He said, "I'm a Met. This is where I am." And he kind of said something.
Which is a Met fan. It's exactly what you
want to hear. That's what you want to
right?
hear. That's what you love to hear. You love to hear that stuff. And then and like I said, I've never been a huge Alderson fan. I've always thought he's really arrogant and douchey when it comes to these things. And he always got some kind of snide remark afterwards. Like, I just feel like he's always done stuff like this. And if he keeps doing it, he's going to burn this team really bad. That's all I'm going to say on it.
I think it's actually even a bigger problem. And here's why. You want players to come here eventually, right? You want stars and good players to come here eventually. Stars get treated different. Derek Jeter got treated differently than Brett Gardner. Sorry. If you were under the impression that wasn't true, or that Derek was like, no, treat me the same, you're nuts. You're nuts.
And the thing is,
these guys drive the revenue. You don't get it. If there's no Derek Jeter, Brett Gardner doesn't make $12 million a year. If there's no Noah Syndergaard, you got to pay these guys, because when they become free agents, someone's going to pay them and they're going to walk away. And then you're going to be left with nothing. Now, unless you think you can become the New England Patriots of Major League Baseball or the St. Louis Cardinals of the NL East, where you just let all your big names go and your farm just keeps retooling all the time and is always good and guys are always coming up and being good. Unless you think you can do that, then you know what? Sorry, your best players get treated different, and they make more money. See, you're under the impression that Noah Syndergaard and Jacob deGrom, if they were on the open market, would make the same money. You're nuts. You're nuts to think that.
Now, here's the other thing, too. I understand exactly how Sandy Alderson plays the game. He plays the game as on my terms. That's how he's always played it. And it's worked sometimes, and it hasn't worked all the time.
But he hasn't come face-to-face with any big-name homegrown free agents yet.
But here's the thing. If you mean to tell me that you couldn't give Syndergaard... Now, listen, you don't have to give Syndergaard $100 million this year.
Give him $1 million.
You could have given him exactly what Mike Trout got, which was $1 million. You could have given deGrom $1 million. You could have given Harvey $1 million.
And that stuff goes a long way, because here's the thing. If you pay those guys now, if you buy out the rest of their arbitration years and all that stuff... I think Syndergaard goes to arbitration next year. This because it'll be his third year, right?
I think it's it's one more year.
This is his third year, right? After this season, he goes to arbitration.
Technically, he hasn't accrued 2 years of service time because he came up midway through one season.
Because they did that. They did that crap, right? So So look, basically what it comes down to is at some point this guy's going to become a free agent, and you're going to dick around with this guy a lot, and it's going to seem great because you're going to save money now. The problem is now is when you should be spending the money. You have really nobody else making money on this team. You have Cespedes making money. That's it. Everybody else on... Well, right, but they're going to have that money back when he retires because of injury, right? So, look, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, well, who's the next highest paid player in the team? Walker at $17 million?
I'm not sure who is. Yeah, probably
Walker,
right?
Or it's not Bruce at 13. It's not Granderson was only making 15.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's Walker. It's
but
not
when
Cabrera.
I mean, that's the thing. You're paying Darno nothing. You're paying most of your first baseman nothing. You're paying your third baseman nothing. You're paying your closer nothing. You're paying none of your starting pitchers nothing. You should front load them now so that when they become free agents, maybe they give you a little hometown discount. Maybe they take 20 instead of 25 because they already made that $5 million when they should have been making $600,000.
I mean, I'm just saying, at the end of the day, you're not doing the player or, to some respect, the fans. Because again, when this gets put out in the media, it's going to look like you're being really cheap, and you are. Because
that's the Mets, right?
But the thing is, it's like
that's
you're saying.
Mets.
But this is what they're saying. They're saying, well, we only have to pay him $605,000, and we're not going to pay him any more than that, so he's just going to have to deal with it.
Right.
And that's kind of a shitty way to look at things. I'm sorry, but it's just like you can't look at things like that. You have to remember what this guy did for you. The fact in World Series Game 3 home game, throwing at Alcides Escobar, he was
Forget
like
about
in
that.
the moment.
He went pitch for pitch in the playoff game with Madison Bumgarner. Now he came out of the game earlier than Bumgarner, but he still went pitch for him. Let me tell you this: if you lined up all the starting pitchers in Major League Baseball right now, Noah Syndergaard's going in the top 10.
Probably, pretty much at this point,
easily.
All right, number 3, the Giants made their first big splash of free agency and addressed a major need by signing Brandon Marshall to a 2-year, $12 million deal. No specifics regarding guaranteed money were revealed, but Big Blue were looking for a tall receiver to complement Odell Beckham Jr., and they found it in Marshall, who struggled last year with the Jets, but to be fair, it wasn't entirely his fault as Ryan Fitzpatrick struggled big time in his second year as starter, which affected Marshall's 2016 numbers. The Giants will be looking for offensive line help and still need to work on a long-term deal for Jason Pierre-Paul, recently franchise tagged by the team. Matty, what I want to know is Brandon Marshall the missing piece to a Super Bowl title?
No, he's a piece, not the piece. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think it's a great signing for them. He fills the need that I've been talking about since the season ended, which is a big, tall, wide receiver who, when you're in the red zone, you can just toss it up to, and guess what he does? He goes up and gets it, right? He's 6'4". He's twice the size of Odell Beckham Jr., who apparently is only 3'2", but still very fast. So, yes, I love this move. I love it. And, of course, because when I heard this happen, right, I immediately turned on SportsTalk Radio because I want to hear, you know what I mean? I want to hear all the reaction, you know? And people were killing the move.
Giant fans
killing
Why?
him.
Oh, because he's on the Jets?
No, because they feel like he's going to be a disruption in the clubhouse and because of the stuff he did in freaking Miami and Denver. Are you guys nuts? He's been really good for the Jets. This is a great signing for them because here's the other thing too is this is a guy who used to be a problem, right? This is a guy who used to be Odell Beckham Jr., right? And he's become a guy who the media loves. He does part-time work on inside the NFL. He's very well liked in his locker room. Now, there's dust-ups, but there's guys yelling at each other all the time in the locker room, so shut your mouths about that because nobody cares, all right? You don't think Phil Simms and Lawrence Taylor ever yelled at each other?
Let me lay it on for the Giant fans.
It's a great signing.
Of course you hate him now. And then, of course, as soon as he catches a touchdown over a cornerback because of his height, you're going to love him all over again.
I talked about this back when when we talked about before. I said I would happily take Brandon Marshall on my team. It's a 2-year, $12 million contract, so that's $6 million a year. That's nothing.
And they just wind up being,
but that's $1 million less than they were going to pay Cruz.
Think about it like this. Right now, it's a 1-year deal. Let's call it what it is.
Exactly.
Because if the Giants don't make the Super Bowl or don't make the playoffs,
and he craps the bed, they'll let him go.
They'll let him go because it won't cost them anything. And I'm sure the guaranteed money is not that high on a $12 million deal unless it's all guaranteed.
And even if it's all guaranteed, it doesn't matter. It's still only 6 and 6. Where are you finding? But where are you finding a receiver that puts up the number that Brandon Marshall puts up for $6 million a year? Because he even said, "I took less money." He's like, "Do you think there are teams that didn't offer me more money?" But he wants to stay here.
The only thing I'm gonna call bullshit on is that he claims he was looking at the Giants from day one when he had a feeling he was going to get caught.
I believe him.
Okay,
Now,
I don't.
Not saying that he wouldn't go, but why wouldn't you? He lives here now. He does the TV work. It all comes from here. So
Well,
he's
that's
either
fine.
going
I'm not-
here. He could have gone to Baltimore.
Could've
Would have
gone to
been
the
a good.
Patriots.
Well, right, anywhere in the
But I'm
tri-state
saying
area.
that, like, I'm not. I think it's
he
a little
knew-
too melodramatic.
Why?
for me.
He looked. Look, you look at the Giants. He knows he's needed there. The thing the Giants need is offensive line. That's what they need. But this does not preclude them from getting offensive line help. It's not like they spent every single cap dollar they had on Brandon freaking stupid Marshall.
No, I love the signing for the Giants. I think it's a great signing. I mean, why wouldn't you bring him in, especially because you're a win now team?
And here's the other thing: if they do decide to bring in Black Unicorn,
Which is a very
which
serious
is
rumor going
his
around,
real name,
is Black Unicorn.
well, right. Do you guys? But Martellus Bennett, who is
He's
who
like
we're
Prince.
talking.
He'll probably just
Right.
eventually
He's
he'll just go and get his name
Unicorn?
changed to Black
Yeah,
Unicorn.
okay. So we're talking about Martellus Bennett, who, if you don't know, the Patriots just traded for Dwayne Allen from the freaking Colts. Oh God, it looks like the new Colt GM is exactly the same as
I'm
the
gonna
old Colt
get
GM.
into that in a minute.
Yeah, well, let's do this. We'll do the Jets real quick on this, and then we're going to go to the number 4, and then we're going to get to all the NFL stuff. The final thing is this. The Giants, we all know, need offensive line help, right? But here's the thing. They don't need to draft a wide receiver now. They don't, and if they sign Martellus Bennett, they don't need to draft a tight end. You can take your first 3 picks if you want and get offensive linemen and do it that way. You don't, listen, there's not a great ton of offensive line guys on the market right now who are either A, good, or B, not injury risks of the highest order. You can say you want Russell Okung, but how great did he play for Denver last year? He wasn't fantastic.
But if they already declined the option, he wasn't really that good. Or even the guy from last year, Kelvin Beachum, who was in Jacksonville, who was on the Steelers.
Right.
They already caught him.
Right.
After 1 year.
After 1 year. Yeah, and they tried that guy Beachum on tackle and on guard. He sucked at both. So sometimes there just aren't good options when it comes to signing a guy. And let me tell you something. When it comes to offensive line, you don't want to just sign a guy. Listen, if you give let me say this too. If you give the Giant offense from last year, take the exact same offense, replace Paul Perkins, obviously, because Brandon Jennings not on the team anymore, okay? But you give me the same offensive line, you give me Shepard, you give me Odell. Right? If you add Brandon Marshall and Black Unicorn to that offense, they're better.
Oh, of course they are.
They're better.
Of course.
Because here's the thing.
Listen, Eli...
who are you going to cover?
Yeah.
Who are you going to cover? Most defenses in the league can barely cover one guy, let alone 4. And that's 4 guys you can't cover.
But again, I think it's a great signing. They didn't have a lot of cap room to begin with, but I'm sure either they're going to work something out with JPP or they're just going to rescind the tag and let him walk.
Well, no, they'll keep him for 1 year. It'll be a cap hit for this year, but they think they can get away with that. What they're going to do is they're probably going to try and restructure some contracts, like Dwayne Harris's contract needs to be restructured and stuff like that. You do that, you save some money, right? They're going to be fine. If you get one offensive lineman, right? Say you get a really good guard. The Ronald Leary is a free agent from the Cowboys, and he was considered the not good of that group. He's still probably better than anything the Giants have. Go sign him, put him at right guard. Then the middle of your line is solid with Pugh, Richburg, and Leary, right? And yes, you got to worry about tackles, but listen, guys, this stuff isn't in a vacuum. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. Guys have to be available that are good, or else it doesn't make sense to sign them.
Again, I don't understand why Giant fans are bitching.
That's
but
because they're idiots.
That's just New York in general. New York,
you talk about the same fans that complain about Eli Manning for crying out loud.
But I mean,
Idiots.
I don't know how you can knock this deal. Like, I don't know how you can knock this contract.
Especially when you look at the numbers that Brandon Marshall's put up in his career and realize that he's now about to play with the best quarterback he's ever played with.
And last year's numbers were a little misleading because Fitzpatrick was bad. They had to go to Geno. They had to go to Petty.
Decker was hurt.
So, again, his numbers were really misleading. And the thing is, here's the best part for this. He's still not the number 1 option. So he could quietly have a good season because teams are still going to be focusing on Beckham.
You're going to have to double Odell. You're going to put Brandon Marshall one-on-one with some guy who's usually the second best corner on the team. And then that means Sterling Shepard gets number 3.
And that's exactly my point. So I don't understand why Giant fans are bitching about this. Jeez.
You're talking about the same fans that complain about Eli Manning, Craig. Are you kidding? It's like I'm in hell sometimes, I swear to God. Number 4, the Jets have been quiet during the legal tampering period, where teams can negotiate with free agents, but deals can't be announced until 4 p.m. Thursday. The Jets and Bears were considering to be the most likely landing spots for QB Mike Glennon, but with reports that his deal could be in the 14 to 15 million range yearly, the Jets, Bills, and Niners have all reportedly backed out. That would leave the Bears as the most likely and Glennon's preferring landing spot. The Jets' QB options are dropping like flies as Brian Hoyer will sign with the Niners and Tyrod Taylor restructured his deal to stay in Buffalo. Craig, what I want to know is, With the Jets likely out from Mike Glennon, where should they look for their QB in 2017?
Well, what I would probably do is make one more pitch to Glennon. That would be my first thing. And just see like if he's really serious about signing with Chicago.
Well, if they're going to offer more money,
here's the thing.
Yeah.
But here's my thing. They're going to be really bad this year. We already know that. I mean, unless because right now they're not even going after anybody big. Everything is just
nor
basically
should they
going to be middle tier. So they're going to be a really bad team. I mean, I don't know how many years Glennon wants either. See, if it was like a 2 or 3 year deal,
but why would Glennon do that?
I'm just saying, like, I don't know what he wants.
Right.
That's my point. So I'm saying, like, I don't know. He could easily want a 5 year deal, and maybe so. So in that sense, if it was like a 3 year deal, then I could see myself giving Glennon that kind of money. But being as though he wants a 5 year deal or whatever he wants, I don't know. To be honest, the Bears are just going to be bidding against themselves because it really looks like the Jets aren't going to be any part of it. Where they turn to for this year, I don't even know who's available. Like, I know Cutler's available. Romo's going to be released, but we already know Romo's not coming to the Jets.
He's going to Denver.
Okay. Which means, the Broncos may make a guy like Trevor Siemian available, and we don't even know how good he is. So it's either going to be via trade or they go through the draft. Or if that's the case,
you have 2 quarterbacks on your team.
Can I finish?
No.
Can I finish?
No.
No? You sure?
Yeah.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
I would give it to Petty. I would give it to Petty and Hackenberg and let him fight it out. Because
you're not trying to be good.
But again, it was so funny because I was reading the post. I think it was yesterday, and it was basically it was an article killing McCagnon for his lack of drafting quarterbacks, and they're killing Petty like, oh, Petty's awful, but Petty hasn't even played enough to warrant being awful.
But they're going on the word of everybody who's seen him play, I guess, right? I mean, that has to be where it's coming from, right? It's got to be coming from somewhere. And we've never seen him in an NFL game, so it has to be coming from somewhere.
And the thing is, he only played 5 games? No, he only played like 3 games because he got hurt in the Patriot game towards the end of the year and he was out for the season.
Right.
So he only played 3 games. You cannot possibly tell me that 3 games is enough to grade a quarterback.
Also, what are you trying to do this year? If your goal is to, listen, you can tank a season and make it seem like you're not trying to tank a season, right? And all you have to do is come out and say, we're going to give this shot to Hackenberg and Petty, and we're going to let them fight it out, and they're going to be our 2 quarterbacks for this year, and whoever's better is going to play. And whatever happens, happens. We're going to have a lot of young players on this team. We've cut all the old players. We're going to have a lot of young players.
Now think about
We're going to draft some young players, and we're going to see where we go.
Think about it.
And then you're going to win 5 games and not get the quarterback from USC. It'll be perfect.
But think about, knowing our luck.
Exactly.
But think about like what the Browns are doing. Okay, they just blew it up.
Yep.
And the thing was, when their veteran quarterback got hurt, they put the rookie in.
Yep.
And they said, okay, we're just going to let you play.
Yeah.
And the thing was, even when McCown came back, and even when RG3 came back for like 15 minutes, they still went to Kessler because he's a rookie. And they're just like, well, there's no point. I mean, I'd rather just see what this kid can do right now. Because if he can handle himself well, I may not necessarily have to go back into the draft or go sign a quarterback in free agency. So, I mean, if I'm the Jets, I'd have a competition between Petty and Hackenberg, and see if one can outduel the other. Now, as for another QB to bring in, see, that's what I don't know. Now there's a lot of talk that Geno may be coming back, and I think that's just something you got to get away from.
I mean, but if it's on a 1-year deal, who cares?
But I'm saying, but are you coming in and saying, Geno, you're the starter?
No.
Then okay, then I mean, listen.
You give him a non-guaranteed contract that if he doesn't get the starting job, you can cut him and lose no money against the cap. And you say, fight it out. You put him in a friggin' ring like Michael Vick did with the Dogs, and you let him go.
But I'd say, but at the same time, at this point, I don't think there's any point in bringing in Jay Cutler. There's no point in bringing in, obviously, Tony Romo.
No.
There's no point in bringing in Jay Cutler. There's no point in bringing Tony Romo in.
No.
So that means the only other
None of them.
The only other guy that may be out there that you can get is Matt Barkley. And you're not going to bring, now Matt Barkley is, but again, you're not going to bring Matt Barkley in to be the starter of this team. I'd rather just go with Petty and Hackenberg.
Yes.
So if you know that this is going to be a bad year, you're not going to go after free agents, even though you're $40 million under the cap. You're not going to be a very competitive team. You're going to try to be competitive, but you probably, at the end of the day, you're going to wind up being a 5-11, 4-12 type team. Okay? Then I would just stick with Petty and Hackenberg and let them fight it out. Plain and simple. This is the Polar Opposites podcast. Check us out as always at polaropposites.podbean.com.
Yep.
As well as iTunes.
Yep.
Follow us on the Twitter And Maddie has an announcement. Apparently, we have a new spot.
Yes.
That you can download the show as well. Maddie, take it away.
It's on a website called Spreaker. That's speaker with an R.
Okay.
And actually, when we start next time we do our show, we can actually do the show live. We can't really accept any phone calls. We can do it live. So when we know we're going to do the next show and we know the time, we'll tweet out when we're going to do it. You can go to Spreaker.com/show/polar opposites, and you can listen there. And you can listen live. You can tweet us while you're listening live, and we can respond to your tweets. We just can't take any calls. So now, Spreaker.
I got to remember that now whenever we plug the show.
Spreaker.
So let's get into, actually, do you want to comment real quickly on Tebow?
First of all, let me say this. I've never been so disgusted by human beings in my life. And you might think, Matt, there's been a lot of atrocity. I'm talking about sports disgust, okay? That's different from real life disgust, okay? I can separate the two. I can be disgusted at you for something you did at sports and be disgusted at you with something you did to a human being and have it be equal for where their value lies. Do you understand what I'm saying?
That's fair.
Okay. Today, Tim Tebow was the designated hitter in the Mets game.
This is like the equivalent of Billy Crystal playing shortstop for the Yankees a few years ago.
Except that was for like charity or something. So
I just think
and it was only one day too. This is like a thing for Tebow.
He begged them to be a shortstop, and they gave him. They said okay.
Yeah. So he hits into a double play with the bases loaded and nobody out. Right, double play ball, boom, right to second base. Not even a hard play, just right to him. Lazy little ground ball. Run scores. He runs back to the dugout, and the Met fans in attendance gave this guy a standing ovation. A standing ovation. Like, you guys shouldn't be allowed to go to sporting events ever again because you're the type of people that start the wave, okay? You're the people that at Yankee Stadium used to chant, hip, hip, Jorge. All right? You are the worst people in the world because you don't understand baseball. Yes, he got the run in. Yes, he made contact with the ball, but the infield was in with the bases loaded and no outs, and he hit a soft he went 0 for 3. He got hit by a pitch, and then he got doubled off first base on a soft liner to the second baseman. How do you not see where the ball's going? It's hit in front of you. He struck out twice looking, and then this is amazing.
He got hit by a pitch.
No, yeah, but he struck out looking and looked back at the ump.
Wow.
Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me? You look back at the ump, you little... Oh, I hate you so much. You friggin'... God, I can't take it anymore. The Mets are like, I'm rooting for bad things for the Mets because of this. And I don't hate the Mets, but this pisses me off.
Well, they took advantage. They took advantage of a marketing.
Right. They
point.
didn't, and I would have understood if they were 62 and 100 last year, but they weren't. Okay, they made the damn playoffs and they went to the World Series the year before. The Mets got to get rid of the idea that they're the little brother. They might be. I'm not saying they're not, but they can't keep thinking that way because it forces them to do stupid crap like this.
You good?
Idiots.
Okay.
And all you Met fans should be ashamed. Football.
Let's take it to football. As of course, this is the legal tampering period.
Yeah.
As the actual deals cannot be announced, as we said before, until tomorrow at 4:00.
Yeah. The actual regular tampering period begins tomorrow at 4.
But then I ask myself, like, how long has it been going on? Like maybe like a week before?
No, if they find out that they're doing it before this spot, I think what teams do is they go, we're going to call this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. We need to have our things, our contract, what we want to pay them, and what counter offers in case blah, blah, blah. And they just have contingency plans set up for all these things. And then literally midnight or whatever, whenever it starts, you just start, Brandon Marshall, you want to sign for the Giants, 2 years, $12 million? Sure. Okay, great.
Now, the thing is, yesterday there weren't a lot of crazy signings. It was very quiet because I think it was more just teams talking to players. And now today it's just completely blown up.
Well, some of these guys can actually sign. Like Brandon Marshall, I think, can actually sign the contract.
So he was released. Yeah, so I think released free agents, like Matty said, can definitely sign, but obviously unrestricted free agents that are contract just runs out cannot officially sign until tomorrow at 4. So basically, Marshall was one of the big ones for the day, going to the Giants on a 2-year deal.
Yes.
The Tyrod Taylor, I guess, is going to be the Bills' quarterback for a while as he restructured his contract.
Yes.
So he will be, I'm assuming, the starter in Buffalo next year.
There is a huge amount of people who think Tyrod Taylor's a really good quarterback.
They like, you know what it is?
Can somebody? I don't
think he's as good as everyone makes him out to be. I think he was improved in Buffalo, but I still think listen, everybody likes him because he can run. He can.
But they were saying that the Bills maybe getting rid of him was a terrible move. Now, I admit it's a terrible move if you don't have anybody you have behind him. But
it was a case of this whole $27.5 million that had to be decided by Saturday. And because if he would have gone to the market, the Browns were, from what I kept reading, the Browns were the primary landing spot for him, and they were ready to blow him out of the water for money. I mean, the Jets were interested as well, but it looked like he was going to Cleveland because they're so far under the cap, they could pretty much offer him whatever he wants.
Is my TV watching different football games? Like, he's a fine. Here's the problem.
He's not a bad quarterback.
I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. Here's what I'm saying about Tyrod Taylor. If you have him on your team, you will be the Washington Redskins. You will be good, and you'll win 9 games sometimes, 7 games sometimes, 10 games a few times, but you'll never go to the Super Bowl. Ever. Tyrod Taylor has never shown me anything that shows me that he at a big spot could win games.
I also think what made him pretty decent as a quarterback in the past couple of years is when you have LaShawn McCoy, when you have a steady running game and the Bills love to run the football. I think it just opened them up a little bit more.
Listen, I think it's good for the Bills because you didn't have anybody else, and so you might as well keep the quarterback you have. Sort of like what's going on in Washington right now, which is totally crazy. Which is because them and Kirk Cousins can't get together. They can't get together. It makes no sense.
But here's what I'm guess the signing of Hoyer, who signed with the 49ers for 2 years.
Yes.
Does that signal the end of Cousins going to the Niners?
No.
You don't think so?
Oh, no. I think they signed Hoyer to be the backup.
Okay. I'm only saying, here's why I'm saying that. Because the Niners are not going to be good for a couple of years. I'm going to
maybe. You know, the NFL is different than all the other sports. You can rebuild very quickly if you're good at it.
But it's Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, I understand that. And trust me, I get it. Trust me. You know me. But stranger things have happened, right? But think about Harbaugh. When he took over that team, they were good like the next year.
But here's my question.
And that team the year before under Weird Eye was terrible.
Who, Singletary?
Yeah.
Was it Singletary?
Yeah.
But I'm saying that by signing Hoyer and getting Cousins.
Sure.
Does that mean now you just don't rebuild it? I mean, but what are you giving? Are you going to give up the number 2 overall pick for
You're going to have to, right?
I mean, because...
But here's the thing. Here's what you're doing. You're basically saying... Now, Kyle Shanahan says that he's worth a number 1 pick. And he's the coach, and he's the guy making all the decisions.
Number 2 overall?
Right. So, and I agree with him on this particular case. If you look at Kirk Cousins' numbers, they are worth a high first-round pick. They just are. He almost threw for 5,000 yards this year. There's only been one guy who's done that twice, and that's Drew Brees. You're not even talking about Tom Brady territory here, guys. Trust me, I'm not saying that Kirk Cousins is good. That's not what I'm saying.
He almost threw for 5,000 yards, but he's not good.
And part of that is today's NFL, and he's a good quarterback. He's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. But in the last 2 years, right, in the last game of the season, when they needed wins, he crapped the bed.
Yeah.
When they needed to win against the Giants to keep in the playoff hunt, the Giants had nothing to play for.
I mean,
he crapped the bed.
Here's my advice to the Washington Redskins at this point. Don't let this go any further than it needs to be. If you want to trade him, just get him off the team now because, again, if this just keeps dragging on, it's just going to last forever.
Craig, their GM isn't even making decisions.
And that's what's even more, he wasn't even at the combine.
Well, he's apparently... The excuse they gave was he was still mourning the death of his 100-year-old grandmother 30 days later. Which, listen, I get it. Your grandma died. I understand you're upset, right? I get it.
But there's also been stories
but it's been 30 days.
There's also been stories. Is that?
He's an alcoholic.
Okay.
And
that would make more sense then.
And that he's getting treatment, but they don't want to tell everybody he's getting treatment, right?
So here's the question then.
That means Daniel Snyder's making the decisions.
But I'm saying my question is with regards to Cousins. Who made the decision to tag Cousins?
It was probably Daniel Snyder and the other guy. Apparently, he's not. That's my
next question was the GM boozing before when he made that?
No. Because you have Kirk. you can't forget about the fact that the Redskins didn't make the playoffs this year. Part of that was the fact that their defense is freaking atrocious and their defensive secondary is even worse. Okay, so there's only so much your offense can do. If you look at if you took his numbers, right, and you put him, say, on the Kansas City Chiefs with that defense,
yeah,
like they go to the Super Bowl probably.
I believe that.
So the problem isn't Kirk Cousins. The problem is they don't want to pay him what quarterbacks get paid who put up the numbers he puts up right now. And that's the biggest problem with the Redskins, is they don't want to pay a quarterback the money that all other quarterbacks in the league are getting paid because they think that they can just replace him. And if you think you can do that, I mean, you're welcome to try. But talk to Jet fans, talk to Bear fans, talk to, Miami fans, talk to really any other team but maybe 10 in the league. And they'll tell you it's not that simple. Now, you get the second pick in the draft because you like, say, Mitch Trubisky, or if you like Deshaun Watson and you want to draft one of those guys to take over, that's fine. But guess what? In 4 years, you're going to be in the same fucking boat. You're going to have to pay somebody at some point who's good to play the position. Look, again, the Patriots are the outlier. Tom Brady making $10 million a year is his choice. It's his choice. Because between him and his wife, they're almost worth $1 billion freaking dollars. He doesn't need the money. He wants to win. Most of these guys need the money.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pay somebody at some point. Why not it be the guy that you know is good for you?
And I'm saying at this point, if you can get him to restructure the deal, which he will, because you have to sell him on the fact if Cousins goes back to Washington, which is looking probably less and less likely, but in the event he does stay in Washington, if they can't get a deal done with the Niners, because that was pretty much the only team he wanted to sign a long-term deal with, the fact is that you got to sell him on winning, and then I think he might take a little less to help the team out to make sure they get the necessary pieces to win a title. So the thing is, what are you going to do if Cousins walks or if Cousins gets traded? Okay, now is it rebuilding time again in Washington? That you just gave your coach a 2-year extension? Your GM is nowhere to be found? I mean, like, what's the plan? Because they just won the NFC East 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Until last year when they didn't make the playoffs. So it's like, so you're going right back to just being a crappy team again. I don't get it. But at this point, if you're going to make the deal, just do it soon, because honest to God, like if this drags on any longer, it's just going to get tiresome, and then you're not going to get what you want to get for it.
On to other news we got going here. As we said before, the New England Patriots acquire Dwayne Allen from the Colts for a fourth-round pick, guys. A fourth-round pick. And they got a sixth-round pick as well in that deal.
How does New England get
it's unbelievable.
Dwayne Allen?
Here's what I want to know, guys. Why would anybody trade with Bill Belichick at this point? Seriously. Why would anybody trade with Bill Belichick at this point? It never works out in your favor. Now, you could say the Cardinals did when they just re-signed Chandler Jones to a big contract, so that's good for them. But when Bill Belichick is making deals with you like this, why do you ever accept? Why do you ever accept? You're going to lose. They just lost that trade. The Colts lost that trade. You know why? Because I don't trust the new GM, because I don't know anything about him, to do anything good with that fourth round pick.
Well, they brought back the other tight end, Jack Doyle.
Right.
They signed him. I think he got like a 3-year deal or something like that. So he's going to be back. But again,
Dwayne Allen's the only guy who blocked on that offensive line.
But the thing is, like, why? And he's also a pretty good red zone threat.
He is, but his blocking is exceptional. He's known throughout the league as one of the best blocking tight ends. And when you have a freaking offensive line that's a sieve like the Colts have, and getting your young quarterback killed, don't you think you'd want to keep one guy on your team that blocks?
Yeah,
I don't get it.
But
I don't get helping I don't get helping the Patriots.
But then the top of it all off is you give up all you get back is a 4th-round pick.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Belichick is laughing at you.
Now, keep in mind, when this guy got hired, everybody's like, "Oh, he's such a great executive and everything." And the first thing you do is you trade a very good blocking tight end as well as a pass catching tight end to the defending Super Bowl champions, and all you got out of it was a 4th-round pick. This is exactly why teams like the Colts never go anywhere, regardless of who you put on that team.
That's Bill Belichick at his office right now.
I mean, the rich just get richer. And what did I say last week? I will never, ever second-guess a decision the New England Patriots
not
make.
one.
Because you can't.
Great move.
You know?
Everything they do is all of a sudden great move. And if you buy into it, and trade with them, you are going to lose the trade. Can we agree on?
Yeah,
you're
because
gonna lose.
they give you. The thing is, you couldn't check around to see if other teams were interested in him, in Dwayne Allen. If I were the Jets, I would have taken him. I would have given up a draft pick. I would have given up one of my 3s if I had to. I have 2 third-round picks. I would have given up a third-round pick for him.
I don't know. Let's see what else we got going on here. Let's see.
Romo will officially be released tomorrow.
Yes, he will.
And he'll be in Denver on Friday.
Yeah, I think he'll be in Denver tomorrow at 4:01.
Actually, they probably told him to go to Denver.
Yeah.
And we'll call you when the paperwork is,
Yeah.
the release paperwork is through.
He's going to be
and he's going to sign at 12:01.
Yeah, he's going to be at one of Peyton Manning's Papa John's at 12:01, sitting next to.
Now, here's a weird story I actually came across. Apparently, the Saints are shopping Brandon Cooks.
Yes.
Now, the Patriots
Is
had
that
offered,
a money thing or is that a?
I don't know. See, that's the thing. I don't know because he's
Is
on
it
a rookie deal. He's not on.
Right.
So I don't know how tight the Saints are with the cap or anything
Or
like
they
that.
just don't like the guy.
But it's a little surprising. But it's getting even more weird. So the Patriots offer a first-round pick. They're 32nd overall. The Saints turn it down.
Of course, I would too.
Okay. Now there was a rumor
Because
going
they
around.
used like he was drafted like 22nd or something like
He
that.
was
I
drafted
believe.
like 22nd,
Right, okay.
23rd or whatever. So now there was rumors that the 2 teams that were most likely in it for Cooks, who most likely he could get traded to, were the Titans and the Eagles. Okay, the Titans would make perfect sense with Mariota. Okay, and he'd be a tremendous deep threat for that team. So the Titans offered up the number 18 pick overall
Okay.
in the draft.
Yeah, sure.
Now they have 2 first-rounders because
Of
they have the
course.
first-rounder from the Rams.
Right.
And the Saints turned that trade down.
That's stupid.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out what are the Saints expecting to get the number 5 pick from Tennessee?
Yeah,
See, that's what I can't really understand. Are you trying to get rid of this guy or not?
Well, maybe they're just trying to. I don't know, but all you're doing is if this is a money situation, all you're doing is proving him right.
And that's what I'm saying. I can't figure out what they're trying to do.
It doesn't make
I
any
don't know.
sense.
I don't know what the Saints cap situation is, but
If somebody's willing to trade you a top 20 pick for a guy who's been in the league for 3 or 4 years, who already has the wear and tear of the league on him, and I understand Brandon Cook's a really good wide receiver, but let's be fair, right? They've put almost anybody in that system, and they've become a good wide receiver, right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's call it what it is. Okay, so if you can get an 18th pick for Brandon Cooks, you don't think you can approximate a Brandon Cooks at 18
and that will
in
give
this
the Saints,
draft?
and that will give the Saints 2 first-round picks. Okay, I mean, that's what I can't.
You deserve to never win again.
That's what I can't. That's what I really just can't figure out. I just
Did you hear about the?
I'm trying to see what the Saints cap number is, but I can't really.
Did you see about the Niners signing Pierre Garçon?
Yeah, he got $16 million a year.
Well,
Or
I
was
think
it
it's
for the
16.
first
This
year?
is the first year, $16 million. Pierre Garçon is an excellent wide receiver. He had the lowest drop rate of any wide receiver in the league last year. He caught 70% of the passes that were thrown to him.
It doesn't mean I don't know.
It's hard to understand the move from a 49er perspective. Now, here's the thing. The 49ers, I believe, are like $90 million under the cap.
They have a lot of cap.
They have a lot of cap space. And you have to spend, I think it's like 80% of that or something.
Like 87 to
Yeah,
like 90%
so you have
of the
you have
cap.
to spend a lot of that money. And so if you're smart, you go sign really good players who are going to be really good for the next couple of years, and you front load those contracts. So then when you're good in 2 and 3 years, the money won't be bad for those, and you go sign a new batch of guys to go with those guys, and you go for the title, right? Like, that's the idea. I don't hate the move, especially if you're going to bring in Kirk Cousins,
Okay.
right?
I mean, listen, if
And
it's
they also signed, where was it? Marquise Goodwin.
see, I like that deal because he's fast,
Right, but if you put Marquise, so basically,
and they also have,
so
and they brought
basically-
back Jeremy Curley.
So basically, Kyle Shanahan is setting up a poor man's version of the Atlanta offense.
Because then what they'll do is they'll put Curley back in the slot
Yeah.
because that's where he's really good.
Yeah.
Now the only thing I don't really know about the Niners right now is if their offensive line is any good.
It's okay.
I know
It's
Carlos
good.
Hyde will be back as running back, but he just gets injured a lot. But listen, yeah, they're good signings. They're not great signings. I mean,
No, but I'm saying that, if you're smart, you pay somebody like Pierre Garçon, and that's how you can blow guys out of the water. Now, you're also talking about a guy who played for him when he was in Washington and obviously really liked the guy, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have that, and if you have all that money, you front load the contract, so you pay Pierre Garçon $16 million this year, and next year he's making $6 million, and it's kind of like a great deal.
yeah. I mean, it's not a bad signing. I don't love it.
When you read
now,
it,
here's the thing.
it looks nuts.
Now, here's the thing. You'll like it better, like Matt said, if they wind up getting Cousins.
Oh yeah, then it's a great
Now,
great
if it's
deal.
Hoyer going in week 1,
Right.
that's going to be trouble.
Well, listen, if you all of a sudden get Kirk Cousins and you have Marquise Goodwin and you have Jeremy Curley as your slot receiver and you have Per Garçon on the outside and you have Carlos Hyde and you have I would say probably a middling, so say like anywhere from 12th to 17th offensive line in the league, I honestly don't see why that's a bad deal. That offense all of a sudden becomes pretty good.
And here's the thing. If Cousins gets traded to the Niners, he's going to work out a deal where it's going to lessen their cap hits, and then they can go out and get better players, especially on defense.
They have so much money this year that they can pay him $24 million this year, have all that money go against him on the cap, and then next year it starts to get lower and lower.
As you said before, Chandler Jones is about to sign a new extension with the Cardinals for 5 years. Big section.
That'll probably be like I would imagine like Olivier Vernon money, right? Somewhere in there.
Yeah, maybe even more.
Well, yeah. It's always going to go up. It's always going to go. But it'll
definitely be somewhere in that field. So Doomerville released by the Ravens.
What are you doing, Tom Coughlin? What are you doing? You didn't want your team didn't destroy Barry Church enough when he played with the Cowboys. You now you have to watch it live every week. What are you doing? Come on, Cough. You know I'm rooting for the Jags this year. The Jags are because I love Coughlin, right? Like Coughlin was the old ball coach. He's an old guy. You like him, but what are you doing, Barry Church? Church.
There is a rumor that Deshaun Jackson could go to Tampa Bay.
I like that deal for Tampa Bay
with Mike Evans.
Stretch the field. It'd be
right now,
perfect.
I think they're the front runners for him.
That'd be perfect.
For his services.
They offered Glennon $9 million a year to
be a backup. He said no. He wants to be a starter.
I would have said no too, but still, that's nuts.
Now it depends what you get from the Bears at this point, because if the Bears are the only team.
But listen, that contract is going to come with a lot more guaranteed money. It's going to come with a lot of things. And listen, the guy's still young.
$9 million for a backup?
Well, that's because they're not paying Jameis a lot of money. Because, those rookie contracts, not like,
not like it used to be.
Not like when Sam Bradford got drafted and he stole all that money like a jackwagon.
Yeah, he's still...
it's brutal.
Dolphins make a couple of signings. Alan Branch is back, and also I just saw that Kenny Stills is going to re-sign with the Dolphins as well.
Yep.
Not really, nothing else really too much going on at this point. I haven't seen any new signings as of yet. Tony Romo getting released tomorrow.
Yeah, here's the headline. Redskins GM Scott McLaughlin no longer part of team's decision-making. That's via ESPN. It's unfriggin' believable, right?
It just gets progressively worse for that team.
Mike Tolbert signs with the Bills.
Not a bad signing, fullback.
Yeah, big fat guy. Just runs up the hole and clogs it. Nice work.
Only helps,
and apparently Kiko Alonso is working on a long-term deal with the Dolphins. And the 49ers make Kyle
Close enough.
highest paid fullback ever with a 4-year, $21 million deal.
Is our fullbacks worth $21 million?
I mean, 4 years, $21 million. It's what, 5.5 a year?
Okay.
I mean, that's a lot of money for a fullback, but if you think it's important and you want to have them, sure, it's great. Look, but again, but they can afford to do that right now because they have tons of cap space. So you can afford to do crap like that. You can afford to pay that guy a lot of money because you know that your rookies, your draft picks are only going to cost you so much now. You know what I mean? It's not like it was 10 years ago. You know that they're only going to do that. So life is a lot easier when you have tons of cap space. Now your team sucks, but you know what? You're going into the whole world with no expectations. You know what I mean? Like the 49, this is like the greatest thing Kyle Shanahan could have ever asked for, right? Because he's going to go in, but he has no expectations against him. It's going to be good.
Outside of that, one team who still has $100 million in cap space. The Cleveland Browns have nobody signed yet.
They're waiting.
Waiting for who?
I don't know.
$100 million.
They're trying the whole thing because DePodesta is there now. They're trying the whole Moneyball shit over in Cleveland, right? And I say that because let me tell you, how many teams who apply the Moneyball theory have won in Major League Baseball?
Nothing.
None. Zero. The Boston Red Sox are not a Moneyball team, guys, okay? Their payroll is well over $100 million, and it was every single time that they won the World Series. They're not a Moneyball team. They may ascribe to some of the notions of on-base percentage, but all teams do that. I'm talking about the true Moneyball teams never win, ever. And it's not going to work in football either because they have all this money. What are you waiting for? Seriously, what are you waiting for? That's what I want to know. What are you waiting for, right?
Yeah.
So...
I would have been day one day like this, legal tampering and stuff, you got to go out there, man. I mean,
Well,
it's the only
listen.
way you can attract. Listen, Cleveland's going to be a bad team. I mean, we know that, but they're not going to get any better if you don't at least try to bring in some veterans.
Why not blow Mike Glennon out of the water? Maybe you don't like Mike Glennon. That's fine. But you know what? You got to do something, guys. You got to do something. It's brutal. It's just brutal.
This is the Polar Opposites podcast. Check us out as always at polaropposites.podbean.com as well as iTunes.
Yes.
And the new website is
Spreaker.com/show/Polar Opposites.
and also follow us on Twitter at Polar Opposites 1. Maddie, before we get to closing time,
Yeah, do it.
you're not a wrestling fan. I'm a
Goldberg,
wrestling fan.
right? You're going to talk about?
You got to be fucking kidding me.
Yeah, I saw a headline today that I almost saved for you, where it was like Goldberg is champion again, and he's fantastic, or something like that. And I was like, really? Because the way Craig makes it sound, he can't walk.
It's not even that though. His matches are only a minute and a half. I think this one was 25 seconds.
Well,
win the title.
And that's the thing. That's where wrestling would lose me as a fan, because I'm sorry, a title match should be at least a 10-minute jobber.
But here's the other thing, though. Now you're going to go into WrestleMania. He's going to face Brock Lesnar,
and he should.
And they want to make that the main event,
right? Like he should get.
So the
destroyed.
main event is only going to be literally no more than a 3-minute match.
Yes,
I mean for the title.
But you know what? That's what wrestling is, man. It's fake. It's fake sports.
I mean, it's I mean, listen, we know it's predetermined. We get all that stuff because there's no way Goldberg is going to take a title match and not want to win it.
Right.
He's not going to job to Kevin Owens. I mean,
right.
Everybody knows that. But I'm saying, like, it just didn't make any sense to give him the title. And then on top of that, it's not like he's going to be wrestling after he wins the belt. He's not going to wrestle again until WrestleMania. And he's only going to.
He's guaranteed to have the belt.
He's going to have one match as a Universal Champion.
He's guaranteed to have the belt.
Oh, God.
Brutal.
It is so bad, man. It is bad. And the thing is, like, I knew that, but I watch it anyway. And it's a shame because a lot of the small time federations that are actually better never get, they'll never be able to get the TV time, so they do all their shit online, like through the internet and all that stuff. But they're so much better. It's just like, I mean, this is because your goal is to get to the WWE. So your goal is if you have to take crappy jobs, so you basically got to sacrifice your life every night, leave it all in the ring, so you can get that job with WWE. So yeah, you understand why, these young guys. But man, it's just.
But they hang on. Here's the thing about the WWE that bugs me is they hang on to their stars hang on way too long. Like the Undertaker. I mean, it's
just not interesting anymore.
Like they can't move, guys. They literally can't move. It's so sad. Like I didn't watch it, but I see they post videos and stuff, and you see him, and they're like it's like Herman Munster trying to chase after somebody. It's brutal.
And it is, man, because it's just all those injuries and just their bodies just can't handle it. I mean, I think the Undertaker's like at least 55.
55. Yeah, he's got to be.
He's got to be 55.
Because he was in his prime when I was a kid, and I'm 41.
Yeah, so there's no way that he's like, I mean, but it is mind-boggling.
Brutal.
And the thing is, like, they bring him back, and I was talking to a friend of mine, who's another big wrestling fan, and we just kind of came to the conclusion that they just don't have any faith in their young talent to carry the show.
Right.
So when it gets to WrestleMania, you get the usual geriatrics. Then you get Triple H for another match. I like Triple H, so I don't have a problem with Triple H, and he's still in amazing shape. And then you get, then you got to have that one friggin' match with Shane McMahon. So it's like you can't even get excited. The matches at WrestleMania this year are terrible. I think they're the worst. And like my wife's cousin made a really good point. Him, Keith. He goes, they were basically trying. It's almost like SummerSlam has become the bigger one than WrestleMania, and that was never how it used to be.
Right, of course.
At least with WrestleMania back in the day, you had Hogan Macho Man.
Yeah, sure.
Hogan Warrior.
Yeah.
And now
Hogan
it's like.
Bundy.
Yeah, and it just looks like right now that, because SummerSlam, the matches are 10 times better than they are at WrestleMania. And it's sad. It's just sad. And then they just keep bringing these guys back left and right.
Well, it's almost like WrestleMania has become like Old Timers Day.
Yeah, it's just like.
And then SummerSlam's become like.
And then, like,
the regular season game.
And what makes it even worse is, like, for WrestleMania, it's like, okay, so Shane McMahon has to have a match because he's a McMahon. And because of that, it's like you're giving a guy who should be in the title picture because he's a really good wrestler, AJ Styles, you're going to probably put him in a bullshit gimmick match with the owner's son.
I always hated when they wrestled. I always used to turn the channel when they'd wrestle, and then I turned it off because no matches stopped ending with pinfalls.
Yeah, everybody runs like somebody's grandmother runs.
It's always it's always nonsense now. So it just bugs me.
So one more time before closing time, polaropposites.podbean.com, iTunes, and Maddie, once again,
Spreaker.
And also, again, follow us on Twitter at PolarOpposites1. Maddie, let's bring the show home. Let's do a little closing time. Closing time, as always, rounds out our podcast. 8 topics, anything goes. All opinions vary. All opinions legal. All opinions matter.
No, they do not.
Maddie, are you ready?
Oh!
All right, number 1, speaking of your boy Tom Coughlin. Tom Coughlin was asked if he was committed to Blake Bortles being the starter for the upcoming season. His response wasn't exactly yes, but wasn't exactly no either. Coughlin said, quote, well, there's plenty of work for everybody to do, Blake included. To raise the game to a higher level, it takes all components. People being in the right places at the right time, taking care of the football, which is paramount to the position, end quote. It's no secret Bortles has been a turnover machine since being in Jacksonville. It has 51 interceptions. 11 of those have been returned for touchdowns.
Sorry.
As of now, the Jags have yet to exercise his 5th-year option, which would instantly guarantee him $19 million in 2018 if he were to get injured in 2017. Is tough love exactly what Blake Bortles needs in order to improve as a quarterback?
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to help. I mean, he should have improved by now a little bit. That team, there was a lot of people picking that team to do something
this year. They were a sexy pick for the playoffs
and
this year.
Listen, that shit always happens where there's a sexy pick and they end up crap in the bed. That happens every year. We see it all the time. But this guy has not made the natural progressions that other quarterbacks have made. And that should scare you a little bit. Now, he's played behind some suspect offensive lines, but he's been given some really good offensive weapons. It's not like they haven't had that. And their defense hasn't been great, but here's my thing. I think I wouldn't offer him that I wouldn't pick up his 5th-year option. I would see what he does this year, and then you sign him to a new contract if you have to. But I would never pick up that 5th-year option because, then he's going to blow out his knee, and then you're forced to pay him $18 million for nothing. So I think the tough love is good, and I don't know if it's been tried before. I don't really follow the Jaguars that much, but
it's only been in the league for 2 years, so it's a little tough to.
But I'm seeing regression, not.
Well, the other way. With that team,
progression.
Okay, with that team, they bring in Chris Ivory last year. They have T.J. Yeldon. So you got a nice little running back combo right there. You have Allen Robinson, who is up and coming receiver in the league. Not to mention Marquise Lee, and you had Julius Thomas. I know Julius Thomas was hurt, but he came back, and actually he got in the end zone a bunch of times this year, even though he may not have had a lot of yards. So the thing is, it's not like the Jaguars aren't trying to build talent around this guy. He just can't deliver right now. And that's that's a big deal. Because this team is talented enough where Blake Bortles should not be throwing 51 interceptions in the 2 years he's been with the team.
11 returned for touchdowns.
That's
an insane number.
That means that team's defenses just know everything about him. I mean, that has to be, right?
Yeah, you're picking the ball off clean.
They know when you lock down. They know when you're calling this play. There's something that he needs to tweak, maybe mentally, not necessarily physically as part of the game, because that's huge. 11 pick sixes as a quarterback?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's 66 points that your offense gave up.
That is insane.
It's an insane number.
But yeah, I think Coughlin is doing the right thing. I think Bortles should work, and Bortles shouldn't automatically be given the starting job. So I think, and this is exactly why you brought in Tom Coughlin in many ways.
Yep.
It is that tough love thing. He's going to be a hard ass, and you know what? This is a team that needs it because they haven't had a winning season in what seems like forever, right? Like it seems like a decade.
I think it was since Tom Coughlin was the coach.
Right? So again, yeah, absolutely. But this is a make or break year for Bortles. It's a huge year for Blake Bortles as far as I'm concerned.
Number 2, David Price had an MRI on his elbow after being scratched from his start this past Sunday, which showed some swelling as well as some fluid buildup, but was overall inconclusive. After a visit with Dr. James Andrews, Price will not need surgery on his elbow, but will miss 7 to 10 days before being reevaluated. There is no timetable for his return, and he could be placed on the DL to start the season. Price was not great in his first season in Boston with an ERA of close to 4, and he logged 230 innings, which was tops in the league. He also registered at least 200 innings in 6 of the past 7 seasons. If Price misses time because of the elbow injury, how significant of an injury is that to the 2017 Red Sox?
I think it hurts, but it doesn't hurt like our season's over type hurt. Here's the way I look at it. This has a tendency to be one of those nagging injuries. He doesn't need surgery, so he doesn't need any type of reconstructive procedure done. He doesn't need Tommy John, doesn't need anything like that. He doesn't even need to have bone chips removed or anything like that. but it seems like one of those things that he'll come back, he'll be good, but then he's going to have that issue, like his elbow's going to get sore one day, and then that's where it's going to go back in the DL. So this is where it could be significant because it's not about missing the beginning of the season. He could wind up being on the DL like 3 times this year, if depending on how it goes. Now, obviously, when you brought in Chris Sale, bringing in Chris Sale kind of, lessens it a little bit, and also you have Porcello. I don't know who's going to be the back end of the rotation for the Red Sox this year. So I think it hurts, but I don't think it hurts. It's not like a death blow to their season, but I think it will hurt because it just has this real feeling of being nagging all year long.
I think that's how it will be a problem. If it's just this one thing and he pitches the rest of the year and he's fine, then obviously it's not a big deal. To me, though, what the bigger deal is of this is that can you guarantee that Porcello's going to do what he did last year? Last year was the anomaly, right? I mean,
sure.
Last year was the outlier. He's usually not.
He's never really been that good.
He's never been that good before. Now, he wasn't even as good as his numbers may think they are last year, but still, you can't necessarily expect him to win 20 whatever games he won and be that good. So I think if you're the Red Sox, this would scare you a little bit. And if I'm them, if it says 7 to 10 days, I sit him for 20 just because who cares if he misses the first 2 weeks of the season?
Yeah.
Who cares?
No, you have to because, I mean, you've invested a lot of money in this
right.
guy. 200, and the thing is, you don't like to hear that he pitched 200 innings in 6 of the last 7 seasons. I mean, that means his arm is about to fall off. And he might be due for a major, surgery pretty soon.
That was CC Sabathia, remember? And then one day it just fell off a cliff. Fell off a cliff.
So if I'm the Red Sox, I'm going to take this with a grain. I'm going to take this a lot of precautions on him because again, invested a lot of money. Now, like I said, I don't think it's a significant injury. It's not a huge injury, but if it gets to that nagging point, it's going to be a big deal. Number 3, Sixers center Joel Embiid had a strong return after dealing with a foot injury that caused him to miss the first 2 seasons of his career. He averaged 20 points and almost 8 rebounds in 31 games this season for the Sixers. But he's injured again and will now be shut down for the season with a torn meniscus. The Sixers may have a difficult decision on their hands this summer as Embiid is eligible for a max extension, which would be in the 5-year, $150 million range. He'll be a restricted free agent after next season, so the Sixers have some time to evaluate him more after his latest injury. Could the Sixers be playing with fire regarding Joel Embiid?
No, because I don't think he'll ever get to that point. To be honest with you, let's be fair. If he comes back and plays the next 2 seasons and is not injured and plays great, he'll get the max contract. If the next 2 seasons go like the first 3 did, well, then he'll make no money because nobody will sign him.
This theme song kills me.
It's brilliant.
I've never heard this theme song when he used to come out.
Oh, you don't remember it?
I remember it, but I never when they used to come out because he always came out with the tag team. So
No. They played this a lot when they introduced the hosts, and he would be like doing the color with Gorilla Monsoon.
Okay,
they would
I didn't mean
do
to
it then.
like jump the.
No, it's fine. Or when he would come out to make an announcement, they would play it. It didn't get played a lot, but it's my favorite of all time. And Bobby Heenan is the best ever manager of any wrestler ever. Anyway, I think this will play itself out, and I don't think they'll be forced to make a hard decision. I don't think he's either going to miss the next 2 seasons with injuries or he's going to play. Or if he misses half of the next 2 seasons, you don't re-sign him. I think it'll be an easy decision.
Well, I think what you do is you at least get it to restricted free agency. I think that's the best thing to do because
you don't
want to sign
beforehand,
him now because he's coming back from another injury, kind of thing. And I think he'll still be a very good player because he's shown he's come back 2 years from foot problems and been sensational and been really good. The thing is that the Sixers seem like they want to build around him now as their center with Ben Simmons. Now they traded Nerlens Noel. There's still a decent chance they trade Jahlil Okafor. So it looks like they want to build around him. So in that sense, I think eventually it will get to the point where the Sixers will give him that contract. But I don't think the Sixers should give it to him now just because there's no reason to, pretty much. And you can wait another year and let him kind of play through it again.
Number 4, Colin Kaepernick will now stand for the national anthem before games next season and will no longer continue his protest. ESPN's Adam Schefter reported that the amount of national discussion on social inequality, as well as support from other athletes in professional and college sports, affirmed the message he was trying to deliver. Kaepernick recently opted out of his contract with the 49ers, becoming an unrestricted free agent. And while some understand the decision, others think the main reason behind his decision to now stand for the anthem is because he's unemployed and teams may not want to sign him because he could be a distraction. At the end of the day, did Kaepernick sell out?
I don't think he sold out because I think you'd have to have a job first, kind of thing. Like if he signed with another team and then said, "Oh, I'm not going to stand anymore," then I am going to stand for the anthem.
Right.
Then it looks like
it looks like somebody told you and then you complied.
I do think though that whoever his agent is probably said to him, "You might want to cut the crap with this whole kneeling thing." So and then what makes it look even worse is now the other players that join in the protest. What do? Do they continue it or do they just stand for the anthem kind of thing?
Well,
So I think at the end of the day, since Kaepernick doesn't have a team yet, and he may not have a team for a while, I don't consider him a sellout. If he had signed a contract with the Browns or whatever, and then the next day said, I'm ending my protest, then yes, I think he would have easily been a sellout. He comes off a little bit as a hypocrite, I think, in some ways. But at the same time, I will just say that, no, I don't think he's a sellout. Because, like I said, if he had signed with another team and then did it, looks totally different.
I don't even think he's a hypocrite, to be honest with you. I think, and people are gonna think this answer is simple, but it worked. His protest worked. We're talking about it on a daily basis. It's all over the internet. It's all over everywhere. Players did it with him last year. Things run their course, and that includes protests. So we're talking about it now. To continue to protest would almost mean that even though we're talking about it, things aren't getting any better or the talk isn't working, right? And so now you wanted to make it look like your protest worked, and the only way to do that is to stop it. You know what I mean? I no longer need to protest because the discourse out there is that what I was saying was affirmed right by most people.
At the same time, I think he's being coached a little bit by his agent.
He is, but remember, he opted out of his own contract knowing full well what he did the year before.
That's fair. And again,
he could have easily stayed with the Niners and collected a ton of money.
Again, I'm not saying the opt-out is one thing. That's a decision he made. But basically, at the end of the day, I also think that, well, okay, if you're going to opt out, that's fine. But you might want to cut it out with this protesting because it may.
But I don't think it's cut it out. I honestly, and this is going to sound nuts, but I think he would have stood for the national anthem this year no matter what.
Okay, maybe. I mean, I don't really know for certain, but
because again, it worked. It worked.
He got his message out. I'll give him that.
Yeah, and he's done. And here's the other thing too: is he's done so much beyond that people don't know about. He has this whole initiative going where it's like he goes in and talks to kids and inner city kids on how to behave and stuff like that. And he does a bunch of things. So it's worked in the long run. I think it's worked.
Number 5, Amari Stoudemire recently apologized for comments he made while being interviewed by Israel site Walla Sport. Stoudemire is currently playing basketball in Israel, and he and a few of his teammates were asked if they would have any problems with a gay teammate. While everyone else said they wouldn't mind, Stoudemire's response said the exact opposite, saying, quote, I'm going to shower across the street, make sure my change of clothes are around the corner, and I'm going to drive, take a different route to the gym. Goldust?
No, Rick Martel.
The model? Sensing he was joking, the reporter asked Stoudemire if he really was kidding, and the former Knick responded, quote, I mean, there's always truth within a joke, end quote. In Stoudemire's apology, he said his remarks were taken from a larger interview where he was asked hypothetical questions, and all his answers had a comedic undertone. Do you think Stoudemire meant what he said?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because here's the thing. It's not funny. Right? Like, if you think that joke's funny, then you think that. Right? Like, he even said there's always truth in every joke. And the truth is that you're a homophobe. So here's the thing, Amari. Just come out and say I'm a homophobe. Just be like, I don't like gay people. Our president and people in the fucking government do it here, right? So why can't you do it? But no, you say something that you have conviction about, right? If I'm going to shower with a gay guy, and I play this because I want to make Amari feel uncomfortable as we talk about him to sexy music.
I would have had you do the Blue Oyster Bar.
I wish I had it. I wish I had it on site. But that's my thing is that your homophobic stuff is funny, but it's not funny at the same time. Because you're a homophobe, so just say you're a homophobe because life would be easier for everybody.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to say. Here's the funny thing. I respect what he said because he pretty much kind of said, I don't feel comfortable kind of thing. stand by it. That's my point.
Also, I'm going to say this too. I don't think you understand what gay means. Not you.
No, I'm not.
Amari. I don't think you understand what gay means. Being gay does not mean you're attracted to every guy in the world. That's not what it means. Are you attracted to every woman in the world? I know I'm not attracted to every woman in the world. Gay guys are just like straight guys. They just like guys instead of girls. But they're not attracted to every guy in the world. They're also not pedophiles or child rapists or anything like that. Yeah. They just like adult men instead of adult women.
And I know a few gay people, and I think they're the nicest people on the planet.
You're doing that, huh?
No, I'm dead serious.
You're doing like they have the black friend.
Yeah.
I got the gay friend. Are you kidding? You going to play that card with me?
Why?
I went to school for musical theater, buddy. Half the people in the world thought I was gay.
But again, at the end of the day with Stoudemire...
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Here's the thing about Stoudemire at the end of the day. I have no problem with what you said. Just stand by it. And now don't come out the next day and say, oh, yeah, I was just kidding.
Yeah.
Because now you look like a bigger fool than you did before.
As per usual.
So there you go.
Number 6, Darrelle Revis is currently a man without a team and pretty much put teams interested in signing him on notice by saying he wouldn't play for anything less than $8 million. Revis will consider taking a year off from football and coming back in 2018 if a team is not willing to offer him what he's asking. He'll collect $6 million from the Jets regardless for the upcoming season, but his deal with the Jets including a dollar-for-dollar credit, meaning if a team were to sign him for $8 million, the Jets would owe him nothing. It's unsure which teams are interested in Revis, but one rival GM recently told the Daily News' Manish Mehta,
way to slip it in.
Quote, have you seen his tape? I wouldn't let him play for me for free. Does Revis have the right to set an ultimatum regarding contract terms?
He has a right. I just don't know if teams will just want to pay him at that point. That's the issue. It's not really... You could set the bar. Sure. And the thing is, you could sit out for a year and still get $6 million. Yeah. So, I mean, listen, I don't have any objection to him doing it.
And maybe go to prison.
And then he still gets $6 million. But the thing is, I don't necessarily have an objection with him doing that because he's always been a very... like a shrewd contract guy.
Sure.
Like he's been very good at negotiating his own deals, just like he did with the Pats, and even again when he did it with the Jets. So in that sense, I don't have a problem with it. The thing is, no one's going to really pay him $8 million to be a cornerback anymore.
Safety, maybe.
So if he wants to be a safety, he has a decent chance of getting that kind of money. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily, maybe a contending team, but I think more of a bad team would probably take a chance, would pay him that money just because he's Darrelle Revis. But again, I have no objection with him with the ultimatum. I just don't know if anybody's going to pay him the $8 million.
The Niners and Browns have a ton of cash.
That's what I'm saying.
Ton of cash.
And the thing is, Shanahan is rebuilding a defense. Darrelle Revis might be a better safety than what you have. So, I mean, I don't know if he's going to do it. Seems more inclined to the fact that, he might just take a year off of football, especially with that prison thing and all.
Right? Don't drop the soap.
But again, I mean, it makes sense. I have no problem with the ultimatum whatsoever, but I just don't know if a team's going to sign him.
I don't either. You think you're worth something, ask for what you're worth. If nobody will give it to you, lower what you're worth and take that.
There you go. Plain and simple. Number 7, Maddie's non-sports story of the week actually has a former NFL player in it.
Sure.
So here we go. Former Texans and Dolphins running back Arian Foster went on an odd Twitter rant saying he could defeat a wolf one-on-one with nothing but his bare hands. Foster cited his weight and the fact that wolves have no thumbs as advantages. Never mind maybe alcohol and maybe a little drugs maybe involved there, Matty. But here's it gets better. But the International Wolf Center had a different opinion. The IWC said that wolves are normally significantly smaller than their prey and have been known to kill a half-ton bison all by themselves. They also said wolves have incredible upper body features and strength and have powerful muscles in their neck to take down animals that can be 5 to 10 times their size. And if Foster tried to run away, he wouldn't get very far, as wolves are known to run 40 miles per hour for extended periods of time. Who do you like in the battle between Arian Foster and a wolf?
Let me first say this. I would pay pay-per-view money to watch a wolf rip the shit out of this idiot. Okay, Arian Foster, you're an idiot. First, let's just get this out of the way. You wouldn't last 5 seconds because you'd pull a groin muscle and you'd be dead. All right? Or your back would hurt. Or there'd be some reason why you'd have to tap out of the contest because you were always tapping out of NFL football games. But secondly, this is a wild animal that fights daily to live. In a world where it eats its food that it just killed. You went to the grocery store and bought sushi, you jackass. So yes, you would die in a second. You would die in a second. It would actually take the wolf longer, okay, to eat you than it would to kill you. Because you're an idiot.
Come on.
And I think you should do it.
How good am I at finding these stories?
Just an idiot.
Come on, give it to me.
It's good, but this guy's an idiot. Arian Foster, you're an idiot.
You know what the crazy thing is? I totally forgot about the hamstring injuries.
Right? This guy's going to pull a groin or a hamstring. You're going to run away. If they can run 40 miles an hour, you can't run 5 feet without pulling a muscle. You are going to die. And it would take less time than it took you to write those tweets, you jackass.
I'll just take the wolf and then just leave it at that. What do you say?
Should always. Yeah, of course.
You think Foster has any chance?
No.
With his bare hands?
No. He has a chance. One.
Just to survive, though.
One chance he has, and that would be if the wolf lunged at him once, and he was able to literally grab him by the neck and hold him far enough away that the wolf's teeth didn't hit him and he had a chance to snap his neck. That would be his only shot.
But that's not even, is that even possible?
I don't know.
I'm going to take that as a no, then.
No, of course it's not possible. Arian Foster's an ass. You know who you are, Arian Foster, now? You're not quite as dumb, Kyrie Irving. Number 8, the NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said during a recent conference that the All-Star Game will be different next season and more competitive. Silver recently had a phone call with Clippers guard Chris Paul, and some of the ideas that were tossed around include having team captains select starters instead of allowing the fans to do it, and having a few spots on the floor that would be 4-point shots and making half-court shots 10 points in the last minute of the game. Are we all going to wear clown costumes too? After this past All-Star game, which saw the Western Conference beat the East 192-182, Warriors coach Steve Kerr said the league, quote, might as well just bring a couple of dead bodies on the sidelines to coach. Steve Kerr is my favorite person in all the NBA, dude. Him and Popovich are phenomenal. Kerr also
he's not wrong.
He's not wrong, but they say the best stuff, right? They're just great.
Well, they say what they feel. That's
right,
the problem.
Sure. Kerr also added he'd like to see the game more competitive, but doesn't know how to force the players to make it that way. Can the NBA All-Star Game be fixed?
No, it can't. And the thing is, it's just... So the last, minute and a half, I'm going to watch guys just taking half-court shots, the whole time, and let's have a 4-point this. And
I have a great idea.
I just don't... Here's how it can be fixed. Ready? Don't have it anymore. Just here. Here's my first all-pro team, and leave it at that. You don't have to have a game.
I have a better idea. Instead of having an all-star game, right? Have a national... Televise a Globetrotters game nationally. Play a Globetrotters game in the middle of it. Because that's what they're talking about. 4-point shots, 10-point half-court buckets. What are you going to get for alley-oops? 2.5? I mean, what are you doing?
And that's what I'm saying. It's just
changing the game, guys.
The thing is, they're getting players involved in this too. This whole decision, obviously, because Chris Paul and everything is involved. But the thing is that this is just not going to make anything better. You're telling me a 10-point shot from half court is going to make the game that much more exciting?
Well, you want to make it competitive, don't you? And that's not competitive. That's not competition.
And listen, let's call it what it is. The only reason why they keep having this game is because players get paid for it. They get money every time they get into the All-Star game. So they're going to keep having the All-Star game, and you people are going to sit through just boring basketball where nobody plays defense. And just like Steve Kerr said, he's 100% right. Just put a couple of dead bodies on each sideline. So the thing is, at the end of the day, nothing will fix the All-Star game except just not having it anymore. And with that, closing time is officially over.
What?
And this episode of Polar Opposites is over. We're sorry we did not get to the NL Central preview. We're just running a little short on time.
The Cubs are going to win. Stop.
But we'll go over it. We're not going to do a show next week. We'll do a show a week after. And we'll do NL Central. We'll try to even squeeze AL Central. Free agency will die down, so we'll give some analysis and anything else we could squeeze into the podcast that we can. Check us out, as always, polaropposites.podbean.com, as well as iTunes. And Maddie, one more time,
Spreaker.com. Search Polar Opposites.
And as always, follow us on Twitter at PolarOpposites1. Enjoy the games, enjoy the weeks, enjoy life, and we will talk again in 2 weeks.
Bye.